Hello, 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 everybody. How are you today? It's great to see you. Hope you're having a wonderful and fantastic day wherever you're watching us from around the world. I welcome you. I am Apostle Dr. Victoria Scott, again with you on building a better world. I am so excited about today. I'm excited with every episode. I believe that every person that comes on here has got something so valuable to add to this world and to enrich the lives of so many people. So I'm going to get started with a word of prayer, and then we will dive into today's program. Father, we welcome you into our space today, Lord. Not that you are not here already, but we're asking you to have your way to every heart that this message is going to reach, that it will be impactful, it will be powerful, it will be enriching, and that it will cause change. And that, Lord, it will change somebody's life today for the better. It will bring answers, and direction and purpose will be understood and embraced yet again in such a fresh and powerful way. I thank you, Heavenly Father, for my guest today and for her taking the time to come and share what you have laid on her heart. I pray, Heavenly Father, that there will be no interruptions, disruptions over the airways, that all will be smooth. We commit this time to you. In the powerful name of Jesus, we pray. Amen and amen. So great to have you here with me. Type in the chats where you're watching from. I believe we are on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. So whether you're watching us live or you're coming on a little bit later, I still want to get some feedback from you and hear from you. So please type in the chat where you are watching from today. Such a pleasure to have you again. Like I said, my name is Victoria Scott. I am your gracious host today on Building a Better World. When I met this young lady, I was just blown away by her. I'm going to be sharing her bio here in a little bit, but she's a woman of incredible wisdom and insight from the Lord. She's a powerful strategist and convener. I call her my human chat GBT because she has just got away with words. Man, I could listen to her talk all day. And one of the things that I wanted to bring her on for today is because I'm sure, as many of you can relate, maybe as it resonates with you, there's been so much change that, we have seen happen over the last decade or two, whether it's around us or it's within us, right? There's been a lot of stretching, a lot of molding into where we need to be in alignment with our purpose, with our destiny, the different things that we're called to do. How does all of this work together? How does it come together, right? And now we're in a space where we're talking about 2024 being the year of the open door. And as doors are opening, as tables are set, invitations are flowing in, we've come into the rooms. Sometimes we don't know what to do there. In fact, there's that part, of one of my favorite verses, that your gift makes room for you and takes you before great men. But what your gift will never tell you is what to do when you get there. It won't tell you how to conduct yourself. It won't tell you what you need to say or not say. I love something that my father used to say: ability takes you to the top, but character keeps you there. So in that character development that has been happening over the years, this is, where this discussion is kind of going to stem out from. Of what do we do when we get into those places? What do we do when you've prepared for the promotion? Now you're there. What do you do after you've been through the fire and the stretching and the molding, the character development to get to this moment where it's now your time to walk into the door? How do we see our greater self? Right? Sometimes there's a disconnect there. And so this incredible young lady is going to help me say this today. But I have a little surprise. I mean, I'm telling you, this lady comes just loaded with so much. So I wanted to share with you. Something that she did. She was on TEDx. She's a TEDx presenter. and did absolutely incredible. I want to share a little snippet of that. Then I'll read her bio and I'll bring her on to come and join me.
Find in your story a cause to live for, because you would find common themes and issues in your story that would answer the question, why am I here today? What's my purpose? What's my purpose in life? It might be within the stories of your past. You see, my father's father fought for him to be educated. And he was the poorest boy in his prestigious school at the time. But because he excelled and succeeded, that poor Igbo boy from CMS Grammar School, Lagos, paved the way for me, my siblings, and his family to be educated. And my sister and I are the first female educated ones in my lineage. In my lineage, with me being the first medical doctor and my sister being the first lawyer. Sorry, female lawyer. My dad was the first. And so still embedded in that, the fact that today I'm an educator and I'm passionate about education. My Sankofa brought me here, and I didn't even know it. My sister, she fights for justice, not just as a career, but as a lifestyle. She's fierce. And still within my story, still elements and issues that still exist today that you can still find a cause to live for. Issues of lack of education or access to it, issues of infertility, of mental wellness, of wars and injustices, of lack of healthcare, and even intertribal conflicts and intertribal marriage conflicts. So find within your history a cause to live for.
Powerhouse. There's more to that. I'll make sure that I put that in the chat so you can listen to the whole thing. But I want to read her bio and share with you who this incredible woman is. Dr. Nkechi Dike is a physician educator and entrepreneur with over 15 years career experience in education, industry, professional speaking, and consulting. She's a certified career coach, project manager, a business strategist, and knowledge consultant. As a transitional leadership coach with expertise in strategy, she is passionate about professional and personal excellence. Nkechi helps individuals, professionals, and business owners navigate transitions, get unstuck, recover their passion, and maintain relevance and recognition in their careers to live full and fulfilled lives. She works with C-suite executives, senior level professionals in organizations, and teams to harness capacity, build sustainable value culture, and seamlessly transition leadership cycles and record organizational growth. Nkechi is known as a super strategist, possibility protagonist, and idea catalyst. My kind of verbiage. Able to succinctly catalyze ideas into projects and profitable outcomes using strategic blueprints, frameworks, and roadmaps, and is highly sought after by entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, and professional experts globally. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me welcome my very, very special guest, all the way from Ghana, Africa, the woman of the hour. I call her the queen of coaching. She is incredible. She's dynamic. I'm telling you, she's a force to be reckoned with. And I can't wait for you all to hear her. Please help me welcome the amazing, the incredible, the dynamic Dr. Nkechi Dike.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much, Apostle. Thank you. That was
You
surprising. I wasn't expecting all of that, plus the TED Talk. Oh my God. Thank
surprise.
you. Oh
How are
man.
you? So great to have you.
Wow. Woo, this has been a long time coming and I'm I'm super excited. It's already here. I wish it was a weekend when I'm curled up and and really rested. But
I
it's always a
know.
good day hanging out with you. You know
I
how we do
know.
it. Every time a five
Exactly.
minutes call becomes 2 hours.
2
It always
hours. Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I think our longest one has been like what, 4? And it was like, wait a minute.
4 hours. Four. You're absolutely right.
It's so, so great to have you. I'm excited. From the first time that I met you, my dear sis, I met you through our beloved apostle, Dr. Florence Brooks, our sister. Oh my goodness, shout out to her. I was in her program last year, her university, of where you are the dean. And just incredible, incredible women. And I'm just so honored to have met you. And so, when I heard you speak, I was like, oh my gosh, she speaks my language. We're on the same frequency. And every time when I talk with you, I'm like, that's my human chat GBT. I'm like, how did she say that? How did she come up with those words? Like, you're just amazing. And I love how not just are you brilliant and you love the Lord, but I love how you so eloquently share that, how you are so skilled in sharing information that makes people get it, but they get excited about it, and it definitely changes lives. So we're going to be, diving into some discussion today and just talking about, this idea, this notion, this crazy dream that we have of stepping into our greater self and what that looks like in 2024. So, just real quick.
Excited.
Yes, yes, exciting. Thank you for everybody who's watching. I see Christina's on. I know there are different avenues that we have. We have LinkedIn, we have YouTube, and we're going to have more people joining us. But feel free, please put questions in there. Dr. Dika is going to be sharing amazing information. Put questions in there, comments, feedback. We want to hear from you as well. So, Dr. DK, we're talking today about stepping into our greater self. And we're gonna be interacting, but for the most part, I also want to give the floor to you. People have been in the last 10, 20, 30 years been coming to this space where they know that they have to prepare. So the discussion is not so much about how do I prepare to do that, because I believe people have been doing that. They've been preparing, they've gone through the fire, they've been getting sharpened. Now we are at 2024, this year of the open door, and people are receiving the invitations to come into the specific tables of destiny, rooms of honor. They're entering there, and now their greater self is on demand. Like, they need to operate in that. How does someone step into that greater self with everything that they've been through? How now do they, because there's that disconnect, how do they step into that greater portion of themselves?
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much again. And thanks everyone watching from around the world. I'm super excited. And one of the things I like about today is that it's going to be really relaxed. I don't know
Yes.
if you see my Nescafe cup here. And the best way I like to tell people to do is I like to share knowledge, and I like us to feel like friends sitting around a table
Yes.
and drinking coffee and learning. And that's because sometimes, when you're in leadership, you're an executive, and I work with people at that level,
Mm.
there's this air of, I have to get it right, I have to be perfect, and all of that. So I hope, with your permission and with Dr. Scott's permission today, let's just put down that air of who we are and who we're expected to be, and just feel like friends sitting around a coffee table,
Yes.
sipping coffee and learning. Because the way I want it to be is that, like, your learning, it's relatable, it's raw, it's real, and
Mm.
we're pulling back all of those layers. And so thank you for that topic. I think, for many years, I just want to start with something quite personal. And for those
Yes.
who have heard me, they've heard this before. But before I even go into the personal story, I wanted to read a scripture as I thought about the topic. And we didn't even discuss what we're going to say. So she doesn't know what I'm going to say today. We're
Right,
just going
right.
to chat.
I'm
And
excited
I thought,
too.
I love the fact that I'm able to speak to professionals, but also speak from a place of faith. And that's why I enjoy this kind of rooms. And so I want to just read, I think it was Proverbs night. Let me see if I get that. 12:27. Proverbs 12:27. It says, in one of the translations, it says, the lazy man does not roast his game, but the diligent man feed the nations with his hand. But I like another one that says, lazy, I think it's New Living Translation. Let me see if I can get it. It says, lazy people don't even cook the game they catch.
Ooh.
But the diligent makes use of everything they find.
Wow.
I like to lay this foundation just to explain, because many of us are in a place where we are, like we say, we have cut the prey, we have prepared. And so a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, the Lord started speaking to me about my children. I've taught them how to catch the prey, but they don't know how to roast the game. And just the premise to that before I jump into that is that, we've done this thing, we've prepared, and we get so excited with preparation. And then, but how to translate that gift and give it coefficients socially, give it economic coefficients, or to give it, social coefficients is a very difficult thing for us to do. And he says, will you be able to help me help my children and help people? This is why I step into the space I'm in today, helping people through that transition, take that thing, that prey. What is the use of you've gamed an animal and you don't know how to convert that to meat, and you're crying every day and saying, God, I'm hungry, but there's a game in your hand. I want to just lay that premise that this is what it means when we say we have reached a place of, we're preparing. And yes, we'll talk about those who are still in the preparatory phase and those who have gone through this phase and are burnt out. However, let's talk about those who are in the space, like you're prepared. And so let me share this anecdote, just something small from my background, from my backstory. So a couple of years ago, about 4 years ago, I'm sure we know that 2020 hit and all of the world changed. My world changed in 2020. My world totally changed. And it wasn't just about COVID. I know when you talk about 2020, you think about the pandemic and all of that, but maybe it's a pandemic of my own life, because somehow castles I had built over time began to crumble, like, from relationships that I thought was going to work, suddenly rug pulled under your feet, to being unable, you built your identity around something, and we talk about identity as well today, and that identity crumbles. Who am I when all of that happens? But then that's not even where I'm going to. So late in the year, finally, we're excited that 2020 was over. I'm at church dancing on the 34th. Oh, no, it was an online service dancing. Oh my God, we're crossing over into 2021. And after dancing, I wake up in 2021, January 1, with COVID in my system.
Oh,
that is 2021. After all of the drama in 2020, I was like, I'm so done. I can't wait. We've received all the prophecies, right? And then I step into January 1, 2021 with the fever, with my taste buds gone, with my, I literally started living in a 2-dimensional world. Like I couldn't smell, and of course it started spiraling down from that point, my breathing difficult, like all of that, my saturations were dropping. But more than that, I was in isolation. Now, this is me. I haven't reached the height of medicine. I have done, I'm a physician. I've gone to Mayo Clinic. For those who are in the States, I was in Florida, and I was at the Mayo Clinic. I mean, that's the echelon. You worked in the Mayo Clinic, and that's the echelon of, this is the dream of everyone in medicine. I went to do my fellowship there. I just returned. I was on top of the world. But guess what? In that room, isolated, exempt from the world, and all of that, dealing with all the fears. Is this me? I'd lost a few people from COVID, and so I started to have all of those panic attacks. But then one thing stood out. It wasn't like there was only one thing, and it was, I haven't truly lived. Can you imagine? I just gave you my bio. You just read all of that bio, but then here I was. The only thought that kept on ringing in my head was, I haven't truly lived. I haven't truly lived. I haven't truly lived. And all of the things I could have been. And I was prepared, and it was 20 years in medical school, and it was all of those things that you have done with all the accolades. But at the back of my mind was, I haven't truly lived. And you would ask, what does that mean? It was everything that I knew I could be that I hadn't stepped into, the greater self, right? It was everything I had the capacity to be, But I had put a box around myself. I'm just a doctor. I don't want them to say you're confused. 1 minute you're doing entrepreneurship, you're a coach. And so I lived within that box. I put a lid on myself, a cover, more like stay within this box, right? And I'm telling you the story to tell you, like, all of us come into the space of our greater self. I had prepared for years. None of the things I'm doing today are new to me. There are things I'd known, either prophesied over me, or I had begun to prepare myself. I'd been reading a book a day, a self-development book a day since I was 18 years old. I started with a book a month, a book a week, and a book a day. Now I'm on a book a day. Sometimes now I try to go back to old books I've read. However, I had prepared. I knew my stuff. My brain was astute, like I was ready. However, somehow through the journey of life, I put myself in a box. You are just a doctor, a checklist, a career. And that's what we're going to talk about today, that in stepping into your greater self is bigger than just a role you play, a checkbox you tick. It's all of yourself and the capacity that you can bring, right? And so laying that foundation, how dare I think that I haven't, like, the only thing flashing were things I could have been, countries I could have walked through, people I could have coached. This podcast probably flashed in front of my eyes because I would never have been here.
Yes.
If I had during the COVID, if something happened and I left my body, I hadn't completed all I could be. I was one version for one season on one assignment.
Wow.
But here where the greater self was calling me. And I keep saying that, like I heard one of my virtual coaches saying once, that when you face death or a moment of scary, death moment, only three things will flash through your minds. Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter?
Yeah.
And so that was a question running through my mind. I didn't need more preparation. I needed to step into the self that had been ready. The coach was in there somewhere. The public speaker was in there somewhere. The educator per excellence was in there somewhere. The entrepreneur was in there somewhere. My greater self. Greater self.
Yes.
My greater self. And so the question now is that greater self. So now for those who are prepared and you're saying, how do I get it? How do I convert the prey I have caught over the years into game, to roast the game? How do I do that? That's the question that we're now asking ourselves. And now the first thing is, I can tell you that from that room, I self-coached myself. I mean, grateful to God for every breath, for regaining my breath, for coming back to who I was or who I am. Sorry, this thing keeps flashing in my mind, in my face. So let me put that in. Sorry, we're being real here. All right. So, and so one of the things that the framework that I used in that space is exactly the framework that I've been coaching clients on over the past 4 years or 3.5 years now. And it's in a funny way, take the lead off, like LID, take the lead off, take that cap, that thing that has been on top of you. And I would explain what that means to us. So we are ready. We're in the place of leadership. You're prepared. The prophecies are now ready. But then you're looking at the prophecies and they're not matching your prevailing circumstances. You're looking at the revelations that you've received and they're not matching reality. And so it is no more a question of, have I prayed enough? Have I prepared enough? It is now, what do I do? Because this is where the practicality and converting all of those readiness into its coefficients for today. Right. And so one of the things that, I would start by saying, like, take the lead off. Take that cover. I always try to find something. Today I didn't bring my cup. I have a favorite cup that I always show. And I say, take that cover off. Take that definition, the box on which you've put yourself, take it off and spread. And it was the same concept of the COVID.
Yes.
Same concept, like one person breathed some virus somewhere and it shut down the whole world. That's how we're meant to be. That's how we're meant to, like, our influence is meant to spread. That's how we're meant to be. And so what do I do? Let me just, and I know this is going to be a conversation, that there's a framework in my head that I'm going to share with you. I like to give people points that they can use today. And so but let me just share that framework. The framework of take the lead off is first a limitation. The L there is a limitation of your mindset or your belief system. You see, and when you are in this space of stepping from an old self into a new self, so let's say a lower version of yourself into a higher version of yourself, is to say, what belief and what identity did I hold in that season? And I'll come to talk about that, but I just want to lay this foundation about your mindset, your belief system of a previous season. And so you might not be doing badly. So let me use an example, like say you're a business person, you're a career person, and you always need like I want to earn $100,000, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time $100 was a big deal, was a greater self for you. There was a time $1,000 is a greater self. $10,000 is probably a greater self. However, you are moving to another dimension of yourself,
Yes.
and that's 100,000. But you cannot move into a new season with the same mindset and the belief systems that have held you at a different level.
Ooh, that's so good. Yeah.
Take those definitions and those boxes. Mine was, you're just a physician, stay in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
I have a story about this, stay in your lane. I'll probably share at the end. Just talk about my TED Talk. You would think everybody will see the TED Talk and they'll be so excited. Doc, you will be amazed that somebody saw the TED Talk and said to me, would you just stay in your lane?
Oh my goodness. And
anyways,
Dickie, that's a big issue, because people will get used to you, right? Being in one vein, and they'll say things like that. And it's really taking those, like the horses, they have the blinders. It's also putting on your ears. He anoints my head with oil to keep that out, because people will incarcerate you. Some people are like, you're an apostle, you're a preacher. Why are you going into media? Why not? Why can I not go into media? Who said I'm just supposed to? So I that so resonates with me. That's powerful. Keep flowing. I love that.
Oh, I love that. And I just said that as an aside, but I'm sure many people, and I just hope that, the audience, if you're watching, you can put it into whatever you're watching. Just say, what situation, have you ever experienced that you're in what state of life are you in that you're about to transition, and other people, your fear is that other people would say, I'm taking on a new identity. I can't see the chat, but I'm hoping to read the chats afterwards. But I want to see, because what you do is that when you put in the chat box and you're chatting like that, other people can also see that you're not alone. That's why I like us interacting in chat boxes, because sometimes we live in isolation and you think it's just me. It's just me going through this thing. So if there's a season of your life you're in right now, and there's a greater self you're about to step into, if you just put that in the chat box and just say, this is who I am, but this is what I really want to be. This is where I think I should be. And so just looking at that, you might find someone chatting. And if you see someone's chat, please encourage them in the chat box. Tell them they can do that. Tell them that it's possible. And whatever that lane is, who defines it? My purpose defines it. And so one of the things we want to remove the definition that you have put around yourself, that others have put around you. I've taught these things many times. I'm like, we cannot exhaust it in 1 hour, but I would just put pointers and just, but those who want to hear this later, I think there's a recorded somewhere you can always reach out to us and I can send it to you. But I really taught extensively about taking the lead off and getting off those identities. So number one is L. And then the other thing for those who want to step into a new season, it's into your greater self, is the interactions you have. This is something I do with my coaching. Like, you cannot flock around with birds on the floor when you are trying to be an eagle. Who are you interacting with? What are your interactions? And this is one of the things I will go into it under mastery. But then you audit your associations. You audit what you spend time with. You audit who you're listening to. Some of my clients, I would tell them, if I'm able to look at your YouTube or your Instagram in the past 24 hours, I can tell the outcome. Of course, I was trying to step into a higher dimension of myself, but I had to change and audit my associations. Some of the closest friends I have today were not friends I had 15 years ago or 5 years ago. I love them, but I could love you from a distance because you're not evolving with me. And many of us are trying to carry over associations from a different self, and you're wondering why I can't step into my greater self, because you're going to have people remind you who you used to be.
Yes, come on.
And who you used to be is not your greater self. You're redefining yourself. You're stepping to a new season. You've got to curate a new set of friends, a new set of associations. And then, of course, the last D there to take the lead off are your distractions. You've got to put on blinders. Blinders, have a tunnel vision for your purpose and assignment. And so I want to pause here just a little bit. That background of just me saying, I'm not just here talking to you about this. I have lived this. The version of who I am today was not existing 5 years ago. The potential was always there, but the version of me speaking to you today was not existing 5 years ago. The confidence, the embracing of the assignment, the ownership of where I'm going was non-existent 5 years ago. So I'm speaking to whoever is saying, is my time up? Is it too late? Am I already too, cemented into this identity? The answer is no. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are not too cemented into any identity, because the version speaking to you today was almost non-existent 5 years ago. Potentially, I had it. Potentially, it was in there. The word was hanging over me. The prophecy was in my life. Potentially, I was all of this. But practically, this version of me started just a few years ago. Yes. Less than 5 years ago. And so I want to leave the room for Doc. Is any thoughts on your mind? Because I still have a lot of things to share, but I want to ease into it. But if that resonates with you, please put in the chat box whatever resonates with you, and I would get to read them afterwards.
Oh, yes. People are definitely responding, just loving this, talking about, yeah, that's true, agreeing the power of association. This is so true, because really whenever, we're especially trying to move into the next, that concept of leaving people behind comes with a lot of it, because I think it's not just a simple goodbye, because sometimes people are trying to attach themselves and they're not ready as well. So, maybe share with somebody, okay, I want to step into the new, and these are my friends. How do I say goodbye to those connections to step into this new place?
Wow. Okay. So first, I think, let me answer the question, and then I will peel that back a little bit. So,
okay,
do we ever really say goodbye? And sometimes the hard thing is we think that we have to say goodbye. This is my theory. My theory is that, and I mean, you could disagree or agree. I mean, I would love to hear other people's thoughts about it. Is that I realized that I didn't have to focus on the people on the outside, and that's probably where most of my work comes in. It's on me first, and this is where the be, do, have. I don't know if you've ever heard the principle, the be, do, and have principle, right? So I want to have a certain thing. I want to move into a certain dimension. And so I have to do things that are commensurate to that thing I want to have. And I'm going to give an example. But then first, most people start from the having to begin to do. They want to, I want to be a millionaire, so begin to do things to become and to have that millionaire, or I want to do things to become that person. However, it's the reverse. The focus is to become the person for whom that thing is true. Become the person for whom that is true. And then you will do the things that the people of that identity do, and then you will have what people of that identity have. And so let me take that again. The be, do, have. Do not ask yourself, how am I going to leave this person behind or walk into this thing? Is, who do I need to become for that thing to be true of me? And what I've found over the time, Doc, is that as I began to become the version of me I wanted to step into, naturally, the people who cannot go with me began to fall off.
Yes, that's it.
Naturally.
Yes.
It was just, suddenly you're not speaking the language anymore. You're not hanging out in the same places anymore. You're speaking an enemy. Like, I have friends that are like, I don't know how to do chit chat and small talk. Like, it's difficult for me because suddenly my friends had to become entrepreneurs. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So my friends had to become entrepreneurs, right? My friends had to be speaking growth mindset, reading books, we're talking masterminds. My friends began to become people who would not laugh when I say I spent $12,000 on a coach. For example, like, oh, how much do you even earn? And the truth is I wasn't even earning that. But when I mean, just doesn't have to be 12,000. It could be buying that course for the $7 or not, whatever it takes, or just be in the room like this and having
Yes.
conversations, growth-minded conversations like this. And
Right.
so for me, but as I began to walk and become the person, the identity started from inside. I had to become the person. My identity had to say, I'm no more in this season, right? And as I worked on myself, and I'll give some framework about how to do this. I'm sure probably you will ask me, but I'll give you some framework about how to do that. But
Yes.
somehow I couldn't do, as I began to become that, I started seeking out new friends. And so shout out to my mastermind ladies if they're here. I saw one of them like the post when you posted it on Facebook. And we began to curate rooms that
Yes.
look like where we want to go. We began
Exactly.
to have conversations every 2 weeks. We held each other accountable. What are you working on this quarter? And somehow I love the people from my past, but somehow it became, I love you, but can love you from a distance until I become this person. And I had to
Mhm.
do this inner work. And somehow, maybe the difficulty is not just about walking away, it is saying, become the person for whom naturally you begin to attract the new set
Exactly.
of friends, but also things begin to shed off you. And
Yes.
so
Thank you
those
for
were
that.
family members. Thank you so much for that. I mean, I want to allow you to speak, but I do have like, so I always ask people, what do I do if it's a close family member or it's somebody like,
Mhm.
or like a
Yes.
relative,
Yeah.
and you can decide to just make an intentional decision to say, how many minutes am I going to be willing on this phone call to this? Do I pick it? At what time of the day do I pick it? And how many minutes you're going to have to say, I really have something else to do. And you're not lying. Even if you're sleeping on your bed, you gotta go. You can limit the amount of interactions. I had to do that, and for fear of just lots of exposure, I had to get to a point where I got to my office and I locked it. I didn't like some of the snide remarks that people, as I was beginning to grow, some of my
Mm.
colleagues
Yeah.
were seeing that, and they were snide remarks. And so sometimes get into the office place and we would have some conversations. I would just pass another door, go to my office and lock it, or you know sometimes they come in and I'm on, on a call, or there's a radio, there's something, a podcast playing, and they will think I'm in a meeting and they'll just wave and go. And those conversations that were no more fruitful to me, I stopped engaging in it. The beautiful
Yes.
thing is that my friends began to see the change and they
Yeah.
came along on the growth. They
That is
came
so
along. So those who will go along with you will go along with you. Let me
so
just
true.
pause here for a little bit.
Oh, I'm loving all of this. I'm telling you, this is so rich, and I know it's helping people. Yeah, one of my spiritual daughters is on here. She's saying, amazing. This is so encouraging. Guess who's on with us too? Our dynamic sister, Apostle Dr. Florence Burrows. Woo!
Hi, Dr.
Yes,
Birds.
we love you. She's on here. I also saw my sisters, my cousins, but they're my sisters in my tribe, all the way from Zambia. They're watching as well. So I'm just looking on one of the platforms. So I haven't seen the other ones. I know we've got others joining in, or others will catch us later. So thank you everybody for being here. But Dr. DK, I'm telling you, this is so important. And I can't wait for you to dive into the next part. And I'm telling, like I said, the way this is going to be, you can flow. Where I can come in, I'll come in. But I want people to hear what you have to say, because you are power packed. We want to get into how can we do this, because it is time for us. God has said to us, occupy until I come. So that role of stewardship, if we've never taken it seriously, we have to take it very, very seriously this year. And that means even the stewardship of stepping into that greater part of ourselves. So we got to do it well. We got to know what to do. And what I love about you is it's not just going to be a blanketed statement. What I love talking with you is that you have this fresh and powerful way of saying, here's how you can do it. So you always bring out the practical side. This is, you, me, and Dr. Florence. This is our language right there. What I hear what you're saying, but let's put some feet to this thing. Let's put some feet to our faith, right? So that's the part that I know we're also going to step into more of, as you've already started to do. I believe you shared 3 powerful points, but those 7, what does this now look like? I'm here right now, and you talked about those who are either preparing, those who are going to prepare, those who are there now. How does this look like now for the remaining 6 months of 2024?
Awesome. So I'm going to thank you for that. And so amazing. I like practical things. I
Yeah.
think sometimes if one of the things I love the most is not just telling people what to do, but showing them how to do it.
Yes.
And how to do it is very important. But more than that is even the why you are to
Yes.
do something. And so let me peel back. I will come to the why and what to do. Oh, sorry, the how and what to do. But let's peel back and start with the how.
Yes.
Two things I'm sure you're going to ask me much later.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I will remind you because there will be some people probably is like, what am I? I've done this before. I've had this before. I'll come to you. And in that one, you see here, I do transitional coaches. And one of the things I love the most, I think one of the strengths that I do have is the ability to understand transitions. And we'll talk about for those who are transitioning, maybe you've done this before and you're like, yeah, I would talk about you. But let's talk about the person who is afraid or like, I'm ready. Yes, I wasn't sure if this is it, but on this call, I'm convinced right now I need to step into that greater self. I like to give us alliterations or I don't know if the words are, yes, but I think it's alliterations and things that you can use to remember. And for this one, I'm going to use the word letter M. And so as I said, if Doc, if you can help me put that in the chat for the participants, the first thing,
Sure.
and I've alluded to that already, is that stepping into a greater self. Let me even first. I wanted to say this, but let me premise it first on this. Last year, I transitioned into a new age. I clocked 40 and I know everybody's excited and they have the photo shoot, but after the photo shoot was over, I'm like, what am I gonna like? Somehow I went into this blue, and I don't want to go into the story about how last year was also a very difficult transitional phase for me outside of the age itself, but it was very sad here. I went through some difficult things as well. However, and so leading up to my birthday, I was going through that same thing. I'm like, yes, I love this version of me now, but there was still more. And so I went into this depressive, like, oh God, my vision board is looking drab. I'm not interested in it. It was just all of those gremlins in my head speaking. And we all have that. And then trust me, yes, Dr. DK is a doctor. She's a baby. We have the gremlins and we need to know how to silence them, right? And so somehow they were in my head. And just to jump the story forward a little bit, one of the days I was lying on the couch thinking about my life, like, okay, I want to do something new. I'm uninspired. All of my vision board is not inspiring me anymore. And I had in my spirit, Nkechi, you cannot dream a new dream on an old identity, an old ideology, and an old itinerary.
That's
I want you to
good.
just know, if you got that, please put that in the chat box, that you cannot dream a new dream on an old identity, an old ideology, mindset, and an old itinerary on a plan. If I looked at your calendar and your day-to-day living and you're planning for 90 days and for 1 year and your 5-year goal, some of us might not even have it, and we're going to talk about that today. But you see, if they don't look like, if I listen to how you describe yourself and I listen to your mindset and your worldview about yourself and about the world around you and about your greater self or the new world you're stepping into, and if I looked at your calendar, your itinerary, what your plan looks like, or if you have one, or if you don't have one, I can tell whether you're able to step into a new self. You cannot dream a new dream on an old identity, an old ideology, and an old itinerary.
Wow.
And you can replace dream there with anything. You cannot step into your greater self with an old identity, an old ideology, and an old itinerary.
That's powerful.
And so I want to premise that, because so when we're talking about how do I now step into this thing, because remember, we have prepared. We have all of that capacity. The question now is, what do I do? So my alliterations are going to be M. And now the first M here is the mindset. And that's first in the mindset and positive, I call it mindset and positive self-talk. This is where we're looking at the operating system of who I used to be. An old identity will have a different operating system. A millionaire's operating system is different from a 1,000-year operating system.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have to ask yourself, what identity am I embracing? What's my mindset? And I've talked about that at the take the lead off, and I won't go into that as much. But then you need to ask yourself, my identity, what's it anchored on? Is it
Yes.
anchored on the role I play? Is it anchored on a season of my life? Because
Come
when
on.
they change, you change.
Yes.
And so there are different ways to look at the identity. There's an identity that is given from you, from God, and all those things. You know, I heard someone once say that the whole essence of stepping into your greater self is understanding purpose, which brings me to the second M. So the first M was mindset. And so the second M, stepping into your greater self to shed that fear and say, how do I walk into this, is mega clarity. Mega clarity.
I love that.
This is where you frame your life in the big picture. You have a big picture framing of your life. And your identity will come into play here as well. But beyond that is, what is my purpose in life? Remember, the purpose is the big picture. Like, what am I here for? What is this new season about? This is where you tackle your why before you even come to the what you want. Why do I want this thing? Why am I stepping into this thing? Who's sending me on this thing?
Come on.
And so for those who have faith, you go back to your roots again. You know, I shared something, I heard it somewhere said that what is my name in heaven that I'm meant to translate on earth? What is my name in heaven that I'm meant to translate on earth? And so many of us are probably even in careers and things that our name in heaven is probably world-class media, you know, person like Dr. Scott. And we're saying, I am just a little teacher in a little classroom.
Come on.
And when I talk about transitions, I'll be able to teach, I hope we'll be able to talk about that, where we talk about transitions and understanding seasons and transitions, that you are loyal to your purpose, but you're not loyal to your assignment. In every season, it changes. The assignment might change, but the purpose, so this is where your mega clarity, so first is your mindset. Have you renewed? Have you started thinking of yourself, the operating system, as somebody in that greater self? Number two is, am I clear about what I want? Am I clear about why I'm stepping into this season? What do you want and why do you want it?
Right.
So this is where you're drawing, and I've started teaching about capturing your life in thematic areas, your seasons in thematic areas. So for me, the season, in the last decade, I themed it building. I was building capacity, building credibility, building competence, and building hotspot.
Wow.
Guts and grit.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, so in that season, my thematic area, my life theme was building. And so while others might think, why, you could be all of this thing. And so some of us were in that building season. Yeah. But now what does that season look like? In this new season, my last season was building capacity, building credibility, building competence, and building hotspot.
Wow.
Spelled hotspot. Guts and grit. And that prepared me. But then in this season, I had to say, what does this theme look like? And I borrowed it from a friend. And I said, well, its impact, its influence, and its income. This determines what I say yes to, no to, or not yet. Do you have a sieve in your life? Something that helps you say yes, no, or not yet. Otherwise you'll be taking on so many things and doing so many things, and you wonder, this is not looking like my greater self. And so, I'm just pausing because I like things getting in and people just understand.
I love it. Yes.
If you're getting what I'm dropping down, just put in the chat box and I would read them later. I promise I will read them all later. But just think about that, like, what is a theme of this season that you are in? And then you begin to break them down into goals and dreams. And we wouldn't go into goal setting here, but sometimes even as seasoned leaders, we assume that we know where we are going. And if I ask, how many of us have penned down what we want to achieve this year, what we want to achieve in this season, in the next 5 years, in the next 3 years? we might have it up here, but if it's not down there, it's not clear enough. There's something called the reticular activating system in your mind that takes instructions from you. So your mouth can be saying things and you might be confessing things, but the subconscious really rules your life. And if you're not imputing and telling it where to direct your life, it will direct you in the path of your old self and not your greater self. Are you
Wow.
clear about that? So mega clarity. Let me not go more into this. And then the third thing will be that you're going to have to develop mastery. And I think this is where many people, like particularly as Christians, we miss.
Wow.
So stepping into my greater self, mindset, mega clarity, but also mastery. And what I mean by that is personal mastery. Can you master self? Can you master your personal mastery or your professional mastery? So I'm stepping into a new greater self, into a new season as a new thing. So for example, I wouldn't say I learned football, so I would come into the game of basketball and then play by the same rules. So many of us are operating in a new season with the rules of an old season. Literally, you're playing basketball with the rules of football. You're coming from another, or soccer for those who are the United States. Many of you are there, and you're like, you're going to go to call that soccer, but you cannot play in that. So you have to begin to say, what do I need to develop in this season for, like, skill wise? So if, for example, you're saying, I know I'm meant to step into coaching, or I'm meant to step, and become a consultant, but I'm coming from being a classroom teacher, then you're going to have to develop professional mastery in the area. Otherwise, you will have the potential, like I did. I had all of these potentials before 2020. But then I had to now say, who looks like where I want to go, and can I learn from them? This is where you go get a coach. This is where you go get courses. This is where you go develop mastery.
Yeah.
In the area of the new self. But then let's start from personal mastery. Like I would say, have you mastered time? Are you resourceful with time? Are you resourceful with money? Are you
Yes.
resourceful with relationships and your network?
Oh, that
Because they
is
always say your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth. The
yes.
people have you harnessed the gifts? Because we always look for the resources to step into a new self, but resourcefulness is a
Come on.
better trait to have. And so in your self-mastery, you're mastering your calendar, your time. Does your
Mm.
calendar remember that itinerary? Does it look like the person you're becoming? The
Oh, that
season you're
is so
stepping?
good. Does your calendar look like the person you're becoming? That is so good. So, so good. Yeah.
And remember, if you don't, yes, I mean, and this is so funny, like, because if you don't have that C from which you say yes, no, or not yet, that big picture clarity, you might be saying yes to things that are necessary and no to the
Exactly.
things that matter.
Ooh, talk about it, Dr. DK. Yeah, because that's a big issue right there. Because we feeling, oh, especially for believers, I need to help, and if I say no, I'm not being kingdom, I'm not this. But yet your no is so much better than a weak yes. A strong no is better than a weak yes, because you can't be pulled in all kinds of directions. So I absolutely love that. Mastering our time, our calendar, where we need to be. So rich. Yeah.
And just to wrap this up, thank you so much for that. I love the way you summarize everything I say, and it just makes it so nice. I'm like, I'm just going on and on, but really, I think that just to get it clear again, like, it's mindset, it's mega clarity, it is mastery. The fourth one is, when you've done all of that, then begin to make moves. And the fourth M is
Woo!
make
Make moves.
moves. And if I
Yeah.
were to refine that a little bit more, I would say make even imperfect moves, because it's, in this greater self, we're thinking, because we have seen the end picture. You see, you've received that prophecy, you've prepared, you have this picture of transcendence, you've seen who looks like where you're going, you've seen your colleagues who this coach is doing this, and you're like, I need to get to that point. And then you forget that that's with many alliterations. That's many iterations. You've gone with that person has done many iterations to get to that perfection. And so for me, I would tell people at this level, stepping into yourself, begin to make imperfect moves. Take
You know,
imperfect actions. Yes, go ahead,
yes.
please.
I'm sorry, Dr. Dika. I was just thinking about, it's funny that you're saying that, because I was talking with my sister, maybe not too long ago, and just saying that what you're talking about, there's a phrase that she uses in her coaching programs that says "done beats perfect," and that is so true, because even when I look at like our Nigerian brothers and sisters, right? When you look at their movies, when they started out, it was so comical. The sound was off. It was just, what is going on? And I know you guys in Ghana, you're close to, you got your Gollywood. And I'm like, but it's exactly what you're saying. Even imperfect ones just start. They didn't have the greatest camera work, the greatest sound team. Everything ended, to God be the glory. But when you look at the way that they have transitioned, it is an empire that they had built, and they started even if everything wasn't perfect. And I was just like, that in itself is such a powerful message, where it's just like start, because there's so many, but we're waiting for, no, all the ducks have to be in a row. And sometimes they're not going to be. It's okay to just start. And I think it's okay to hear that. I know that set me free, being transparent, just to say, start. It's okay. Just start. So yeah, thank
Yes.
you for that.
I love that you said that, because particularly for me, it was something I also struggled with, and this is us being honestly real. And real,
Yes.
I like to pull back the airs, and just let you see that this is me still struggling, because I come from a career that expects like, you cannot make mistake I'm an emergency physician, for those who don't know. And so you cannot
Yes.
make mistakes. Like, one mistake could mean the life of somebody. So if you're
Woo,
coming from
yes.
a career that requires extraordinary precision, you're going to have to struggle with that perfectionistic thingy, and you have to deal with it,
Yes.
because somehow it is not realistic in the real world, where all my ducks have to be in a row before I step out, before I make a decision,
Mm,
before I start that business. And sometimes all you're thinking about, I like chess, I like chess, not that I can play it in any way, but I love following chess. But one of the things
me
I know about
too.
chess, and I had someone say this once, that a good player, like, will probably know their next 5 moves. Maybe a master will know the next 10 moves, and
Yeah.
a grandmaster might know their next 15 moves. But if you make move 5 in move 2, you kill the game. If you make move 10 in move 8, you kill the
Mm,
game. All right. And so sometimes that imperfect, do I know what the next 3 steps are? And I just take those steps. And as you take those steps, the next steps will begin to unveil, right? And not just unveil, you begin to, iterate it, you begin to improve upon it. When Dr. Scott started this podcast, I remember we just had a session, and we had a coaching session. I had a coaching session with Dr. Scott, and
yeah.
then she, I'm like, you're going to do that thing. You're going to start on Wednesday. And then I know there was some issue with Facebook, would just not go on. And YouTube, how am I going to do with StreamYard?
Nice.
Now she's so seamless, you would think, oh my God, this was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Guys, this podcast was just a few weeks ago. And
Yeah.
I can see the growth
Yeah.
every week, every 2 weeks. I pop in and I'm like, wow, this doesn't look like the Dr. Scott who called me, a month ago, 2 months ago. Right. And
Right.
so
Right.
this is not putting you on blast. I'm putting myself on blast as
Oh, it
well.
is. It's okay.
I love it, but really, like, you just need to get started. And so take
Yeah.
imperfect moves,
Yeah.
and then the last one will be momentum. In fact, I think I added the momentum today, because I
Yes.
realized
I
that
like
some
that.
of us we've started taking some steps, just to go back to the moves again, just talking about, you know, making imperfect moves. I've also had people, because I do coach people, like, on how to start as a coach or as a consultant. And there's a program that I run. And one of the things is, I need to, and I believe that as well, I need to get all of my website. And I'm sure I told Dr. Scott this in our last coaching session. I need to get my website ready. I need to get this. And I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. One of the things that I've learned to do well, which I've overcome, and I'm not with my clients, is I'm just going to start with Google Document and a Word
Yes.
document, a PDF. All I need is a Zoom call and just help somebody. And so we're
Yes.
able to help. I've raked in, thousands of dollars from just having PDF, Google Doc, and probably a Zoom link. That's
Yes.
all. I don't have
That's
a
it.
website yet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So just make that moves. And then of course the last thing was momentum. And I just before we probably talk about transition, for those who are like, okay, I know you're probably, there'll be some people asking, I've done this before, I'll get to you. But I want to see whether, I don't know, I can't see the chat, but Dr. Scott, you can tell me if people
Yes.
are picking up the 4 things I said. Mindset, 5 things.
Yes.
Mindset, mega clarity, be clear about where you want to go.
Yes.
Number 3 is are you mastering your craft?
Mm-hmm.
Have you mastered the craft in the new season? Do you know the games, the rules of the game of this new season? Number 4 is to make those imperfect moves, but make them
Yes.
very strategically, right?
Yes.
And then number 5 is momentum. This is where who's going along with you matters.
That's
Sometimes
right.
I don't wake up every day
Ooh.
motivated to be a coach. I don't wake up every day motivated to be a teacher or a doctor. But
Yes.
remember when I began to audit my associations, you have people, I get on a call with Dr. Brooks, she's on this call, or with Dr. Scott, or I have, my mastermind ladies, or I have, my big sister and mommy, Auntie Gina. Like I have people who huddle and cheer me on. Even to get on this call today, I wasn't feeling too great. And
Yeah.
then shout out to just Auntie Gina. I don't know if she's here, but she's like, okay, you need to do this, you need it, and she just prepped me up for this. You need, who's going with you matters. And this is
Yes.
why, I probably had to start an accelerator myself, put some successful people in there. Auntie Gina, hi, I see you're there.
Yes. She's
And
here.
determine who's going with you. And if you don't have that, jump into a group, join a membership, whatever it is, of people going in the direction, and then they can cheer you on the days you don't have fuel.
Yes.
I know. Let me just stop here for a while and just take any more questions you have for me, and then But I get so excited about this thing because I know we could go into, how do I do this, and I do have a checklist. I created something for your audience, Dr. Scott, just to mention
Yes.
that. I don't know. Maybe we could send that to them later. So if they could
Yes.
drop their emails or find a way to get to us, and then I will share that 7 steps. So I called it a guide to stepping into your greater self. The
Ooh.
7 steps to that, just a simple checklist, practical moves. Because this call is very limited, and we want to get through as many topics as possible.
Exactly.
I'm not able to go into details into what to do exactly, but I did create a small checklist for you of just some things that you can do, stepping practical things like, self-awareness, journaling,
Yes.
auditing things, and just what to do, and something small like that, not too long, but a simple checklist for your audience. So I wanted to just say that we can
Thank
share that with
you.
them later.
Oh, that is so awesome. Thank you so much. So, yes, guys, if you're listening, whether you're watching live or you'll be watching later, please put more. We're working with M right now. So, put more and we'll be able to send that to you. I'll get in contact with you and we will get that to you. So, type in more in the chat and we will get those 7 steps to you. Dr. D, can you believe it's been an hour? It doesn't even feel like it, right? I told you, I was like, because
I
when
wish
we
I could see the audience. I wish I could see what they're saying. And oh my God.
I know. If you have your device, you're able to jump in. You can go in on Facebook and click on that and see what they're saying. I know I get it here too, but we've got, okay, I want to give, if our audience can be with us for about 5 more minutes. Yeah, 5 more minutes. Is that good? Is there anything on that checklist of more that you can share? Or if you want to go in a direction where you're saying, hey, I need to at least get this to them, what would you share with us in these remaining 5 minutes? And then, like, I didn't even tell you this part. I said, we always, these talks are so exciting. I'm always like, listen, we have to do part two. We're going to do part two. You're my sister. So
I'll be
I remember.
honored. I'll be honored to come back to do a part two. It's true. Like I didn't even realize an hour already because there's
I
so much to
know.
unpack in this, and just I get passionate about these things,
I
because I
I
have
love
yeah,
it. Yes.
this was me, and I really wish I could help people through, that phase of their life. It's really something I really look forward to. But yes,
In fact, we do have I'm so sorry, doctor. We
yes,
do have a question. Christina is
yes,
asking,
go ahead.
how do I overcome fear?
How do I overcome fear?
Yes.
Okay. So first and foremost, I think I like this framework. If we were on Zoom, I would have drawn. I like frameworks. I'm sure you probably hear Dr. Brooks saying, "I see," Dr. Scott say, "I see things in frameworks and
Yes.
purpose, right? Let me answer this as brief as I can. So, first and foremost, fear. I heard one of my coaches say that fear is actually, you know, the feeling or the emotion you get for a present danger. A present danger. So if there was a lion in this room, and I had to jump, but whatever I feel is going to be like from a place of a present danger. But that thing that we sometimes call fear. And so maybe what I want in the chat, the sister to put in chat, what fear of what? Because if it is not a present danger, and all of us feel this thing is, I will call it is an anxiety, and it's almost like anticipating an undesired outcome. All right. And so one of the framework that the most beautiful framework that one of my coaches shared with me once was, like he had a framework about the fact, the way you view a fact, what you focus on, and every fact has a positive and a negative side, right? There's no one-sided pancake, no one-sided coin, no one-sided paper. So every fact has a two-sided, a positive and a negative. And what you focus on becomes, begins to create a belief in your mind. Now, if it's on the positive one, I think this was Myron Golden. I let this from a shout out to him just to say this is not originally mine, and what you focus on forms a belief in your mind. The belief is either faith or doubt, right? And if that belief in your mind becomes a feeling in your heart, if it is on the positive thing, you form anticipation. And if it's on the if it's negative, it becomes anxiety. That anxiety is what we interpret as fear. What you're really is coming to you is like, I'm afraid of the thing, the undesired outcome. And I wish I could see in the chat right now, the one who said, how do I overcome fear? The question is, fear of what? And so there are lots of different kinds of fear. There's fear of failure, fear of, I did an assessment one that said I was afraid of success. So it wasn't that what I would do would fail. It was that I was always scared that maybe I would become so big, I would not be able to maintain that height. And so I never had a fear of success or rejection. But how do I handle a fear? One of the things I would say to you is, number one, is to be aware of where is that thought or that fear coming from? Is it coming from yourself? Is it coming from an identity? Is it coming from an outside? So is it the fear of what an outside person thinks of me? If you are able to identify the origin of that fear, it's almost half done. Or is it other people's expectations of you? Or circumstances or something you've done before and you failed at that thing before, and it comes like, yeah, you've done this before and now you want to do it again. Once you're able to identify. Number two thing, so I'm giving you strategies, right? Identify the origin of that fear. Number two is that ask yourself, why does that thing I fear, why does it matter?
That's
and one of the ways,
wow.
One of the ways you can do that is to ask yourself, this story or this fear, how has it limited me to this point? And sometimes you need to be honest and sit and do a proper self-assessment. How has it limited me? Number one. Number two, if I stay here, remember that leper, the story in the lepers, I said, if we sit here, we die. I think it's in First Kings. And you ask, if I stay here, what are the consequences in 5 years' time? Yeah. If I refuse because of fear to paralyze me. And ask yourself, if I keep on playing small, what will I regret not doing in 5 years? Remember that story I started with, that when I got the COVID and I was in isolation, it wasn't the things I had done that were flashing in my head. It was the very things that I knew I could have been doing that I wasn't doing. And all that ring in my head was, I haven't truly lived. I haven't truly lived. And all of the things I could have been that I was not began to plague me. And ask yourself, what will you regret not doing in 10 years, in 5 years? And who is at the end of that, your obedience? Sometimes we focus so much, sometimes the fear as well is on me. Is on, oh my God, how do I look? Am I going to look? And you forget that at the end of your assignment is someone's life is going to change. Someone's story is going to change. And so remember, try to zoom and say, who is at the end of my new self, my new identity, my new assignment? Who I'm robbing because of this fear? You are actually robbing that person of becoming a better self, of an answer, because you're holding back because of fear. So I see you say you have fear of moving forward or doing business.
Mm-hmm.
The question is why? And so one of the things I give my people, my clients to do is, sometimes we are saying, how do I stop running away from fear?
Mm-hmm.
My theory is that in my coaching practice, I don't ever tell people stop doing this,
Mm-hmm.
because, and I take that principle from Genesis 1, that when there was darkness, God did not say to darkness, dispel, go. It introduced a superior law, which was let there be light.
Ooh, that's so
Let there be light.
good.
And if my focus is on fear, Christina, if your focus is on the fear, it will keep you paralyzed. You feel powerless.
Yes. Introduce a greater power.
And
Woo!
so this is what I would say. I would give the assignment. Let me see if I can read out the assignment for you, Christina. Is that I want you to change that story. Like, write on a piece of paper. I'm going to read it quickly out to you. 5 things. What is the current story holding you back? What does that story cost you? I'm going to run through this. I know our time is going, so pardon me, if I'm going to run through this. What will it cost you going forward, like I said before? But then I want you to go out and find somebody who looks like you, who has done it, and debunk that story. Debunk that story. And then the 5th thing that has changed most of my clients' life is that they create their own new mantra. For every lie that I'm told, I repeal that with a truth. I
Yes.
repeal that, and do not counter thought with thought. I always say counter thought with words. So you're going to fail. I doubt my doubts. So you're going to fail. You're just a doctor. How dare you think you could be a coach or a business person? And then you're going to fail. And I ask myself, what if I succeed? What if I succeed? And I began to call myself and create my own personal mantras. I wrote 36 of them on any given day, that I would say to myself, Nkechi, you're this, Nkechi, you're that, Nkechi, you're that. And sometimes you say it because you believe it. But I'm telling you, Christina, begin to say those things until you believe them. Say it
Yes.
not because you believe it, but say it until you believe it. And like, there are lots of strategy, Christina. I want to just do this. Invite you to just get on Dr. Scott will put my calendar on the link. Just book a time and let's talk. Sometimes this podcast are so short. I wanted to give you practical things, but this is just something very simple you can do today, and sit down and say, what has it cost me? What will it cost me going forward? And then sit in that emotion and say, am I going to let this thing rob me again? Are there not people doing this?
Yes.
Find someone doing that. Find someone doing what you want to do, and let that image of bigger whatever, like, inspire you. But also remember momentum. Get into a room of people who are doing what you want, who look like what your future is. Their current present self is what you are aspiring to be. Get in those rooms. I think I've covered most of it.
Woo! I'm telling you, dynamic, human chat GBT 4.0, 5.0. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Oh my
Thank you
goodness.
so much.
I put your Calendly up so people can start to connect with you. I also, will run through the LinkedIn to see how they can reach to you. But yes, let us know one of the seven that's on the um
On the checklist.
checklist. Yes, that we'll be getting to them. Don't forget, friends, to type in more so that we can get that out to you. We want to get that to you. That's our free gift to you. Thank you so much, Dr. DK. Take it away.
Yes. So before I even, I don't know if I have a time to just speak to someone who
Yes.
is saying, "Oh, I have done this, and I'm tired, and I'm in a season where I don't even know whether I want to try again. I want to, I've had this thing. this is what I wanted. I just want to quickly, like, and if this is all I'm able to say, I'll be happy to. And I know I'll come back again and we'll address something else. But for the person who is saying, in this season, I've done this before. I've, you know, I've, I've been here. I don't know whether I want to start all over again. And I just let me see if I can pull up something for you. Um, let me see it. If I cannot pull it up, I will just go ahead and so this is okay, right? So this is for someone who says they're tired. You know, I mean, you used to have the zeal, enthusiasm, and the vision. You know, but you know, you no longer have the energy, because I want to believe that not everyone here is like, and everyone is excited and all of that, but not everyone is feeling that way. All right. So I want to pause here and just acknowledge you. You have run before. You have been on this treadmill before, and you're saying, my enthusiasm and my zeal is waning. You know, I've been down this road. I don't know if I want to start all over again. Let me just say, I see you. I see you. And I acknowledge that, because if I tell you that I've spent more of my time in valley moments than on mountaintops, don't let all of these things and these accolades fool you. We've all been there, and most of the time, and this is where I say I pull back the layers, and I'm honest with you, that for that person who's saying, I've had this before, I've been down this road before, I need new energy, or I'm transitioning a season, I want to say something to you, that I see you. And not I might not be able to go into all of the details, but honestly, jump on a call with me if you're like that. But one of the things I want to say is that it's okay that self-care, particularly for high ambitious, very ambitious people who know that we want to step into a new self, is that sometimes we keep going, and we're not listening. Sometimes that burnout, that zeal that you've lost is a signal to you to pause. I see you, I hear you, I know what it's like to be out there, and you're like, do I want to do this again? And I will just leave you four things. I like strategies. I like simple things you can remember. Is number one is relax, rest, take a pause, self-care. For those who don't know that, I journal every morning. I mean, I just finished one journal. And now every time I finish a journal, I'm like, you mean all of this book is full of just gratitude? So I journal my gratitude. I journal my thoughts. And so for that person who is burned out and is like, I want to step into this new self, but from the season I'm coming, relax, take a break, pause. It's okay. Care for yourself, care for your health, care for your mind. Take a vacation, take a break. Number two is relax, realign. Find a time to realign again. And I'll explain what I mean by realign. Realign again. And probably no, before I go on, so let me give you the four things and I'll come back to realign. So it's relax, realign, reassign. Let God reassign this and then redeploy. This is where it's at redeploy. You by that time you've relaxed, you've rejuvenated, you realign again to what's my purpose, what's my assignment, why am I doing this? And then you go back into a place of prayer, into a place of strategy, and say, what am I being reassigned to in this season? And then finally, when you get that, you redeploy. You're like a soldier back in the field again. You say, oh, we're deploying soldiers. Now you redeploy the new strategy, your rejuvenated self into the game again. Remember, for that person saying, I've been down this road or I'm transitioning, is to say, relax or rest, realign, find that congruity again with why you are doing this. Number three, reassign. We reassign to a new assignment, and I'll talk about that, and then redeploy. And just not to take more time, Dr. Scott, if you can permit me, like I don't mind even if we end on this part about the fact that for those, remember when I said you cannot dream a new dream, step into a new season with an
Yes.
old identity, an old ideology, an old itinerary. But to get into that phase of I'm tired, I want to start it all over again, is to understand that remember there's a big purpose. Go back to that clarity again. What's the purpose? But remember that every purpose will have seasons.
Mm.
And in every
Yes,
season,
that's
and
true.
when you are transitioning seasons, you go through transitions.
Yes.
And sometimes some of us are in that transitional phase. And that's probably what I love, helping people to navigate those transitions. And so
Mhm.
you must ask yourself, just like you have the winter, like if you're in winter season, to understand that maybe what you're going through in this season is that ask yourself, am I in spring season? And spring is for those who are in a new beginning, growth phase. This is where you're planting seeds. Am I in the
Yeah.
summer season where there's abundance, where there's flourishing, and all of your efforts are showing results? And then some people are going to be in the autumn season of their life. And this is probably where you're like, reaping rewards, and you're preparing, you're reflecting. Some of us are in that
Mm.
phase and you're thinking, okay, I'm preparing for change, just like in
Yes.
the autumn. And then some people are in the winter phase. And I have been in the winter phase twice in 4 years, where it's a period of introspection.
Mm.
It's a period of, sometimes it feels like, am I losing myself? Am I losing my dream? But this
Yeah.
is where you pause. Remember, after every winter, there's a new season coming. And just being
Yes.
able to, and if you're able to understand that, you can navigate those systems. And we can, you can come on board. And I do have a workbook that I help people with, and questions that will take you through, practically take you through questions you can ask yourself to help you know, how do I, navigate these transitions and move into this season. And so I wanted to just end, even if that's all I'm able to say, to speak to some people who are saying,
Yes.
I'm tired, I've been down here before. Is
Yes.
relax, realign, reassign, and redeploy.
I
But
love
until
it.
you, there's a lot to unpack there, but we have to stop here.
Yeah. Woo, Dr. Dickey, can we show her some love in the chat? Oh my goodness, whether you're on live or watching later, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Oh my goodness. I can't thank you enough of how incredible this has been. I know it's been so rich for so many, even the comments, people saying it's encouraging, they're listening, they're taking this down. And we've got people watching from Africa, we've got people watching from different parts of the US, and I know different ones will tune in later on, as they're on different schedules around the world. But I am just so wowed by you, as always, with what you have to say. This has been incredible, with the M's that you gave us, the I think the I's, it was an I or D at the beginning, and now
Yeah.
these R's. I'm telling you, I love this. This has been absolutely incredible. Thank you for what you have shared. And I'm going to also put in here at the end. Oh, so while I'm putting this up for you as we're closing up, can you let people know how they can reach you, how they can get in touch with you? Maybe somebody's like, first of all, just getting in touch with you, how others can join your program. How do they go about this?
Thank you so very much. And I just want to thank all the audience. I'm unable to see all the chats, but I will catch up with them later. Thank you for allowing us, just into your room and into your space today. And I really am grateful. I never take for granted, platforms when I'm offered, and audiences that I probably am not exposed to. So thank you so much, Dr. Scott, and thank you to all the audience. Like I said, because of the constricted time, I'm unable to share. I love giving resources, and I have lots of resources to give. I wasn't unable to give you, on how to create new habits, how to do, the self. I have materials for all of that. So for those who
Yeah.
want to get on the call, so basically I help, mid-level, senior level executives, business owners navigate transitions. That's actually what my greatest strength, and I help with strategies, very, very practical strategies, to navigate these transitions, whether you're transitioning into a higher role or into a business. And you just need a sounding board or a strategic partner to help you navigate that. So please get on a call with me. I do have a 30-minute, my calendar will be scrolling. It's, if you don't find a time, don't worry, just send me an email. I don't know if I will send my email into the chat so that you can share with the audience. Let me just put that in so that, yes, so for those who are unable to get slots on my calendar, is sometimes occasionally full and blocked, just send me an email. But get on the calendar, let's get on a 30 minutes 45 minutes call, and I will just help you on that call, and then we can explore how else we can work. The other way is, of course, LinkedIn is my playground. If you're on Facebook, you can find me as well, but I'm not as as active. LinkedIn is my playground, so you could connect with me, follow, or just send me a message on LinkedIn. If you cannot get me on LinkedIn, find me on on Facebook as well, or just send me an email. Just remind me that you're coming from Dr. Scott's. I always like to give audience to my people, and so please join me in that, and let's get a talk on the programs that I do have. Yeah, Dr. Scott loves. I do offer one-on-one coaching, and so I'll be happy to on that call to see how best to support you. Just get on the call with me. How best to support you. Also, maybe we'll share later in the chat as well. You could join my mailing list. Just let me so that I always send encouraging things out every once in a while, just to help you navigate these transitions. Two programs that I do have right now for those who are like saying, I need momentum, I'm ready. Oh my God, like I've heard you today and I just want to get started. I have
Yes.
an accelerator. We're not yet, our cohorts are closed now, but there's a wait list for that, and so I would love to get you the on our wait list so that I can share with you, trying to see if I could pull that up, when you can join us in the next cohort where we hold each other accountable, we run together, we set goals quarterly, bi-weekly, we meet. I mean, it's an amazing, if you thought today was great, imagine what the accelerator will feel like, and so this is where we
Powerful.
hold each other, we are very accountable, we have co-working days, and you come bring your goals on the table and people will spur you on to achieve those goals. That's what we have. For those, some of you who say, oh, I want to be a coach, I want to be a consultant, I know I'm ready to step into this season of being a coach, I do have a boot camp that help you start. You want to be a
Yeah.
coach, you want to be a consultant, you want to take your ideas and harness them, peel them back. I have a program, Idea to Launch, but also I help you the business of coaching. So I want to help you start land those first clients, get those, just get the first moolah, and step it. But beyond even the money, is saying I want to become this new person. And if a coach or a consultant or a knowledge person is what you want to become, you can come into, just reach out to me. I can also help you with that. So my one-on-one programs are up. My group coaching programs are also up. But more than anything else, drop your email, find a way, let's connect with you so that I can give you the free resources. I would add in the chat box as well, maybe get on the wait list and I can share with you um, resources, some of the resources. So once you get on the podcast, I would know where you're coming from and I would
Yes.
send you resources. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This has been so rich. Oh my goodness. I hate with every fiber of my being to say goodbye because you know me, you and me, we could go on and on, but we do have to come to an end. So I send you a million thank yous, my beautiful sister, Dr. DK. You are incredible. You're a powerhouse. I know we're going to have part 2 and 3 and 4 of this. This is not going to be the last time, but thank you so, so much for being my honored special guest today. I'm so grateful to have you. Thank you for what you're doing around the world. You're impacting so many lives and changing them, with just your heart to serve and to love people with the gifts that God has given you. So thank you. And thank you to everybody who is watching in right now and tuned in and will watch later. Don't forget to put more in the chat so that you can get those checklist, the free checklist from Dr. Dickett. Trust me, it is going to be so impactful. If you're hearing this and you said, you know what, yes, this can even bless somebody else, go ahead and share the video, whatever platform that you're on. Go ahead and write more, even for your friend who you have in mind, and we'll make sure that we get that to them. So with that said, we will bid you adieu. Thank you for being here today. And until next time, God bless you and shalom, shalom. Thank you so much. God bless.
Bye.
Bye.